Hi everyone. Today our lesson is going to focus on adding fractions. So before we begin, let's take a look at our I can statement for today. Our I can statement for today says I can add fractions. Adding means to combine, fractions meaning parts of a whole, with like denominators. Like denominators just mean that the denominators are going to be the same, which also means that the pieces that we're adding together are the same size. And today we're going to use models or pictures to help us see the sum of these two fractions. So specifically, we are going to use some fraction circles today. So let's take a look at our first problem that we're going to do. I have on the board 3/5 plus 1/5. So we are going to use our fraction bars or fraction circles, and we're going to show what 3/5 looks like, and then show what 1/5 looks like. And then to get the sum, or to add these two fractions together, let's take a look at how many pieces we have. We have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. We have a total of 4/5. Okay? So now what we can do is to see what this model looks like when it's combined together. So I'm just going to take all of my pieces and put them all together. So you can see that we have a total of 4/5. Now if you notice, our denominator in our fraction did not change. Why didn't it change? Because the pieces are the same size. We're not changing the size of the pieces, so the denominator is not going to change in our sum. The only thing that changed was our numerator, representing the number of pieces that we have. So we had 3 pieces, and then we added one more, and we have a total of 4 pieces. So the sum of 3/5 plus 1/5 is equal to 4/5. Let's take a look at another problem now. We are going to add 2/3 and add another 2/3 to see what our sum would be. First, let's take a look at what our models look like. Here is 2/3 for that fraction, and here's another 2/3 to represent the second fraction. So when we add them together, let's find out how many pieces we have all together. We have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. Now let's take a look at that sum, the fraction that we have. What do you notice about that fraction? Well, I notice it looks a little strange because the numerator is larger than the denominator. Now let's look at what the model looks like when we put together to see what that actually means. Well, I notice when I look at that model that I have more than one whole. And that's why my numerator is bigger than my denominator. I have actually one whole and 1/3 of another whole. So when our numerator is larger than a denominator, that type of fraction is called an improper fraction. And that gives us the clue that we have more than one whole. And when we look at our model, when we combine those 2/3 and another 2/3, you can see that we have one whole and 1/3 of another. So this sum can be represented as an improper fraction or a mixed number. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. Now let's add 3/4 plus 3/4. Of course, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to show each of those fractions as a model or as a picture. So here's 3/4, and I'm going to add another 3/4. So let's see how many of those fourths we have all together. We have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4. And once again, I just want to remind you that when we add fractions, you notice that the denominator did not change because the size of our pieces did not change. The only thing that changed was our numerator because of how many pieces we have. So we had 3 pieces plus another 3 pieces to get a total of 6 pieces. So now we have 6/4. And 6/4 is also considered an improper fraction. That gives me the clue that I probably have more than one whole, but let me just combine all of these pieces together to make sure. Okay, what do you see? We see that we have one whole and 2/4 of another whole. So the sum of 3/4 plus 3/4 is equal to 6/4 as an improper fraction, or it could also be written as a mixed number, 1 and 2/4. Now we're going to do one more together before I have you do one on your own. So let's take a look at this next problem. 5/6, and we're going to add 4/6 to that. So I'm going to show you with my fraction pieces what each fraction looks like as a model. Okay, there's 5/6 there. And I'm going to take another 4/6. Here's another 4/6. Now let's see. When I combine them, let's see how many pieces I have. I have 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6, 7/6, 8/6, 9/6. I have 9/6 as my sum. And you notice that 9, the numerator, is larger than the denominator, so I have more than one whole. So let's see if we can make our improper fraction into a mixed number since we have more than one whole. Let's combine our pieces. Where did that piece go? There it is. Why is that not doing that? There we go. So if you look at our fraction and our model, we have one whole and 3/6 of another whole. Okay, so my sum of 5/6 plus 4/6 can be written as 9/6, an improper fraction, or 1 and 3/6 as a mixed number. Now, let's have you try one on your own. I would like you to try 6/8 plus 3/8. Now you can draw a picture model on a piece of paper. I want you to pause this video and see if you can find the answer to our problem. And then once you are finished, please unpause the video and we'll talk about it. All right, so let's talk about the sum. What is the sum of 6/8 plus 3/8? Well, I'm going to show what 6/8 looks like here first. There we go. There's 6/8. I don't know why that's missing, disappearing. All right, and I have another 3/8. Okay. So, looking at our model, let's see how many total pieces we have. We have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, 9/8. Uh-oh. I notice my numerator is larger than my denominator, which means that this is an improper fraction, so I must have more than one whole. So let's find out what that model looks like when I put all of those pieces together. Sure enough, I have 1 whole and 1/8 of another. So the sum of 6/8 plus 3/8 is equal to 9/8. And since that's an improper fraction and my numerator is larger than my denominator, I can change it into a mixed number, showing that I have 1 whole and 1/8 of another one. So the sum of 6/8 plus 3/8 is equal to 9/8, or 1 and 1/8. Okay, now you are going to have a couple of practice items that your teacher has assigned. So go ahead and try those on your own, and your teacher will get back to you and check up on you. Bye.